and welcome to another fun-packed episode of the Ball and Chain. And today we're focusing on football, and we're going to have a look right across the leagues and just take stock of where we are and preview some selected features this weekend. As we go into this weekend's fixtures, Arsenal still just hold on to the Premier League and the top of the Premier League. We're 15 games in now, nearly halfway there, so still a lot of football to be played. We're not even at the halfway point of the season, but a while ago, or a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about Arsenal looking unstoppable. However, that picture has slightly changed due to a couple of draws and a defeat in their last 6 games, and Man City, and also notably Aston Villa's form. Like, if you look back 5 or 6 games ago, Aston Villa were just teetering above the relegation positions. And now look at them, 3rd in the league on a 5-win running streak. And you've got to say, they look good at the moment. They look unstoppable. And getting close to January, if they get some decent recruits in, you've got to remember that Ollie Watkins has not fired this season. So they're getting goals coming from all positions and starting to build quite a good strength there. And the goal difference, yes, it is well below that of Man City and Arsenal, but I think it's worth giving them a special mention due to their current form and where they're at the moment. Man City look good. They seem to have recovered a little bit of stability. They've got a slight blot there, haven't they, with 2 wins, either side bookending a loss, but their form in the last 3 and their exceptional victory in midweek against Real Madrid, 2-1 at the Bernabeu, which not many teams can come away with and say, signals a really, really strong part on them. And they faded away last season. It doesn't look like that's happening. So they are definitely in contention. Palace, as always, they seem to be up there. They've got quite a few injuries, haven't they? And they'll be going. Sarr will be going to African Cup of Nations in the next, I think it's the last game actually before players go to the AFCON. So we have to take that into account. So players like Minte, Sarr, Salah will all be going, and maybe Mbueno from Manchester United will be going. So we need to factor that in. And if you're an FPL manager in the Fantasy League, you will know that you've been given 5 free transfers, so use those transfers widely. It's a bit like a mid-season wildcard. I've just gone in and cashed them all in today because I was lagging a little bit. I dropped down to 2nd in a couple of my leagues, and it's time to get that number 1 position back. So that's where we are with the tables. Manchester United have dropped off a little bit, but they are still teetering around, and there's not much between. I think realistically 4th place. And I think that's where most teams who are around there will start to get to. That's your first point, isn't it? Get into the Champions League places, consolidate, and then look to build on that. Same with Liverpool, who have mixed form. They play Brighton. So it's arguably, those two, there's not much between those 2 teams. So playing Brighton this weekend, it feels like goals to me. It feels like a goals fixture between Brighton and Liverpool. So my top tip and nap, if you will, for today is both teams to score an over 2.5 between Brighton and Liverpool. That's the bet. That's the one that's the banker that should come in today. Same with, I think, Arsenal playing Wolves. Now, notoriously when top meets bottom, everyone predicts it to go one way. Arsenal will thrash them. However, sometimes the underdogs do come on. Under Rob Edwards, they desperately need something. Even just a goal would be a start. And against Arsenal, we've got arguably the strongest defence in the league, which the stats say that. They've only conceded 9 compared to everybody else. They are the best defence, whereas Wolves have got the worst attack. It's looking very much like a Arsenal win 2-0 for the 8 o'clock game tonight. But look, we've got Burnley, who are on a really bad losing streak. We've got Wolves, who are on a really bad losing streak. Therefore, one would argue that it don't look good for either of them at this stage, particularly Wolves. I mean, they're looking like they could potentially be competing with Derby for the lowest ever points tally. I think it was 11. And with them 2 at nearly the halfway stage, it's looking pretty bleak for them, isn't it? They're already kind of 13 points behind Forest. And Forest had a good win against Utrecht in the Europa League. So really interesting where we're seeing the league shaping up. Forest do need to step up, but if you look at their form over the last 6, 2 defeats, yes, but 3 wins and a draw definitely means the tide's turning for them. Similar with Leeds, they were 4 losses on the bounce. A win and a draw has moved them with it 2 points out away from West Ham. You've got West Ham and Forest who recently changed the managers. One would expect things to happen as a result of that. Fulham were coming into a bit of form, but ropey again. They, I think, play Burnley away. Let me just check on screen. I think they're playing Burnley away. Yes, they are. That's the 6-pointer for Fulham, even at this stage. I think if Fulham win that, they're starting to... That would really give them a bit of a cushion there. We've also got Chelsea playing Everton. Chelsea's mixed form. Again, they lost in midweek to Atlanta in the Champions League, and that sort of sums up their miserable sort of last 4 games, really, if you include that. They were on a really winning streak, looking like they were going to be really competing with Arsenal, and suddenly it only takes 3 games, doesn't it? And you drop off so quick. So look at Liverpool. They've not played badly, but they're really 10 points now behind the leaders, and that looks like a mountain to climb even at this stage of the season. So it is so true that it only takes like 5 or a good run of form to really shape a season. And similarly, a bad few games can really set you back, and momentum then starts to push against you. And my understanding from the reports that came out of the Chelsea game is that now Maresca is under pressure, which is unbelievable, isn't it? The job he's done, where he's positioned them. Yes, they have invested a lot. Yes, they have a strong squad, and one would argue they should be up there. But I think it's crazy. After the defeat the victory they got and the performance against Barcelona, so then losing Atlanta, yes, it's a disappointing result, but I think he's doing a great job. And I think, who are you going to get better? Like Zidane? I don't know, but I just think football's so fickle at the moment, isn't it? It moves so much. But anyway, that's where we are with the Premier League table, and picking out a few selected games there. Let's go into the Championship. Have a look at where we are at the moment. As we see, we've got 3 games in progress. There was a game last night that I really don't want to talk about, but I will. So West Bromwich Albion played Sheffield United in the Championship. Let's go and just have a quick check on the table. So we'll scale down a little bit because West Brom played Sheffield United. Sheffield United, if you look at their last streak, they were on a 5-game. I think it actually extended to 6-game unbeaten run. They'd won 4 or 5 on the bounce, and then they got a draw in midweek against Norwich, despite a huge amount of injuries. So Wilder nearly changed his entire squad as a result of injuries and illness in the camp. And then, so they played Saturday, they played, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, and then they played Friday. So 3 matches in such a short space of time, and they got illness in the camp. So no excuses there. The performance against West Brom, arguably they had a chance in the first couple of minutes that fell to Hamer. Great strike, fantastic save by the keeper, and that then set the tone, didn't it? There was a strike against by the keeper against Hamer's head, tried to head it goalwards, and unfortunately that didn't go in the net. And I think those 2 moments, key moments, sort of upset the game. Sheffield United arguably had the better chances of the first half, didn't take them. West Brom had an opportunity right at the death of the first half and missed that as well. So went in 0-0 at half time. Second half, I don't think Sheffield United left the dressing room. It was all West Bromwich Albion, and they absolutely tore Sheffield United to bits. Sheffield United looked lacklustre, they looked poor, they didn't look like they'd come out of the dressing room. It was really disappointing second half, and in stark contrast to the recent form, because arguably Sheffield United over the last 6 games had been the form team in the league, and really people were saying, well, they're only if they win the next couple, they'll be in contention for the playoffs, which a few weeks ago would have looked unthinkable. So it is just the stark reality of football. 2 or 3 games can make a difference, and that defeat now has that victory has pushed West Brom right up the league 3 or 4 places as a result of that. Now, granted, all teams have to play this afternoon, but it really just sets the bar now there. Again, now the talk was West Brom were coming down because they got defeated in the week, and now that victory has really propelled them back to only 3 points off the playoffs. It really is that tight down there at the moment. If you look at the number of points, it's not that great. Now, between 6th to 1st, it's huge. They've built a really strong cushion, Coventry, and even though they lost their last game, they've still got a 5-point cushion above Middlesbrough, and an even greater 9-point cushion above Millwall. So they're really prime and strong placed in the league, even though their form recently has dipped, but only the last 2. But actually, that's all it takes to make a massive difference at the moment. But they have built such a strong cushion. It's hard to think of anybody else being in contention for at least those promotion places this season. So let's just look at some of the selected games in the Championship. We've got struggling Norwich City, who got a good point arguably away at Sheffield United, playing at home to Southampton, who again, like Sheffield United, were right up there as the form team and probably now will take the form team position in the league. Can they get something against Norwich and continue that great run that we've been having since they've swapped manager and released Will Still from his position? Other key matches that are taking place there, I think the standout one looks like Leicester City and Ipswich, doesn't it? Two of the relegated teams from last season face off today. We've also got Coventry City taking on Bristol City, which again, one would say probably looks at both teams to score banker, and so does Wrexham against Watford for me. Hull City against Millwall will be an interesting game. Hull have been up the form. They seem to be yo-yoing a little bit with their form, but that's be a good test against Millwall. Always a tricky team to play at the Den, and Millwall's form obviously third in the league, looking strong. Middlesbrough take on QPR. QPR are a mixed team again. Middlesbrough looking to continue to strengthen their form and stay second as a result of the way they're playing at the moment. Let's drop down to League One and have a look at where we are today and some of the positioning of the teams again. 18 games through the season, we can see that Cardiff are leading the league. They've had 4 great games on the bounce, 4 wins, and look really strong. Their defence has really tightened up in the last few games, and they look really strong at the top of the league, sitting really pretty at the moment. And have built up quite a cushion, 4-point cushion from second and third respectively. And yeah, look the form team of the league at the moment. Just scroll up and down. We've also got Bolton, who are unbeaten in their last 6 games, which is real strength and depth, isn't it? They've got that form coming up, and they play Exeter today. Looks like definitely a home win. However, Exeter won the last game. Will that make a change? Plymouth at the bottom of the league. I think they're playing Luton, who are pushing for a playoff position. So that again looks a good strong bet there. And then just scrolling down, we've got some other key games taking place today. I think Bolton, again, the form team, you've got to be looking at them to take something. So Cardiff, Bolton and Luton, I think, are the picks today for results. We go down to League Two. Just have a look at where we are in the League Two at the moment. We've got Walsall, who've been consistently right at the top of the league. Got Swindon, who are the form team. They're currently playing and leading against away against Bristol Rovers, who again are a struggling team at the minute, and they're 1 goal down to Swindon Town. So we've got Walsall, Swindon and Notts, who are right up there. Notts County are arguably a good both teams to score team. Let's have a look at some of the fixtures that are taking place today. Yes, we've got Swindon winning at Bristol Rovers. We've got Salford and Colchester coming. Both teams scored, landed very early. That looked like a good pick there. The pick for me today is Grimsby against Notts County. Both teams to score. I have also looked at Chesterfield and Barnet. And the AI predicted Milton Keynes, Dons and Cambridge, apparently, because Milton Keynes are conceding quite a lot at the moment. Not sure I agree with that one. Cambridge aren't particularly... they're a bit measly in front of goal and also in defence. Not a lot of results have gone with goals in the Cambridge games, but who am I to quiz the AI bot and its ideas on that one? But yeah, I would say if I've got to pick one, and hand on heart, my nap would be both teams to score in Cambridge, in Grimsby and Notts County. Had the game not started, I would have predicted Swindon to beat Bristol. I'll stick with that, even though they're winning. And I would have said that before they were winning. You have to take my word for that. But I'm going to stand by that as well, even though it's in play and they're winning at the moment. But, it's only 26 minutes in. Football is a long game and there are 2 halves to it. They're all cliche, as they say. So that's reviewed up and down the leagues. Let's just have a quick check-in on what's going down in Europe. So, where are we with the Champions League at the moment? Let's just take a quick look. Arsenal sitting pretty at top. They look unbeatable, don't they? 6 games played, 6 games won. They beat Club Brugge in their Champions League game. Bayern Munich winning again. So we've got the usual suspects, haven't we? City, Paris Saint-Germain, Inter, Real Madrid, Atletico, Bayern, Arsenal, and Atlanta. Again, people criticising Chelsea, but look, Atlanta are on really great form. They've only lost once in the Champions League. They look strong, so let's not forget that. Chelsea have dropped down to 13th though after that defeat, despite some good form. But it's so tight there, isn't it? Anything from, I think Bayern and Arsenal are sitting pretty. They look quite good, but anybody from third down to 15th, even Barcelona are right in there with a chance. Any surprises in the bottom half? Probably Villarreal and probably Benfica. Are teams that I probably wouldn't expect to be there when you've got Copenhagen, Karabakh, and arguably PSV, Monaco and Galatasaray above them. I think you'd be expecting at least Karabakh and Copenhagen to swap out, but Copenhagen have won 2 on the bounce and look a good team. So that's where we are. Look, Benfica have won the last 2. They beat Napoli, who are on really poor form at the moment. Really interesting, isn't it, all this? And really interesting. The actual AI picked out Benfica to beat Napoli, and the odds on that were pretty good. So, I'm starting to use that AI-driven approach and that data-driven approach, which has picked me out a quite interesting bet for the Liverpool game taking place against Brighton. But like I say, I'll go with my nap that is bursting scoring over 2.5 in that game. We'll see what happens. But that's where we are with the European leagues. Again, I think let's just have a look at some of the scores and fixtures and just summarise some of those key games that took place. I think Villarreal look rooted. Copenhagen beating them in Villarreal, which is a real shock. They look down and out, don't they, at the moment? As I say, Benfica got that great result against Napoli at home. And Brode, a glimpse, getting a 2-2 draw against Dortmund. Very good result for them. No surprise, Arsenal clean sheet, over 2.5 goals. That's excellent for them, isn't it? Great. They're just on fire in Europe at the moment. As I said earlier, Man City's great result against Real Madrid. Fantastic away result for them there as well. Bayern came from 1-0 down to beat Sporting 3-1 in their game. As I say, Chelsea lost to Atlanta and arguably unfairly. Maresca is now under pressure, which I find incredibly difficult to accept. But anyway, that's where it is. Barcelona got a great result against Eintracht Frankfurt, again coming from behind and won 2-1. Liverpool, probably the result of the day in those games because of Liverpool's form and Inter's home form and just how difficult it is to go to the San Siro. A great result for Liverpool there. Notably as well, Atletico Madrid getting a 3-0 result, a 3-2 win away against PSV, considering their form recently was good. And a goal fest again at Inter and Union. And a good result for Spurs at home, whose own form have been shaky. I think they needed a good fixture at home like that against Slavia Prague, and they won 3-0. Okay, that summarises the week's results and previews some of the games from this week. I'm hopefully going to be back next week with some more analysis and some more stuff. Let me know if you like this format, what you'd like to see, if you'd like to see any changes. Would you like me to just focus on a specific league? Would you like me to start looking bets and writing a bet slip or something like that? Would you like me to start looking at the fantasy teams and previewing where I'm at with that, my results there? Give me some feedback. Let me know what's working. Let me know what's not. Let me know what you want to see. And until then, enjoy your weekend, and I hope your team wins and enjoy the sport over the course of this weekend. See you later.